and thank you for tuning into the Math Guy. Today we are going to be looking at gross earnings. More specifically, looking at employees get paid based off of an hourly wage, such as an hourly employee, or an employee that gets paid based off of a contract. They work so much during a year, they get paid so much money, also known as a salaried employee. Our first problem today reads, assume you are paid $32,345 a year. Find the following. We need to go through and calculate, based off of this amount of money being paid during 1 year, how much we would get if we got paid weekly, bi-weekly, semi-monthly, and monthly. The way we do this is through a simple process of division. Before we can divide, we need to know how many paychecks we would be getting paid if we got paid weekly, bi-weekly, semi-monthly, and monthly. In order to do this, we simply think about, first, how many weeks there are in a year. By this point, we should all know there are 52 weeks in a year. If you get paid weekly, you get 52 paychecks in a year. Bi-weekly simply means you get paid every other week, which means we don't get paid every single week. We get paid one Friday possibly. The next Friday we don't get paid. The Friday after that we get paid again. So we actually end up getting 26 paychecks if we get paid bi-weekly. It's half the number of weekly paychecks. For the last two, simply start at the bottom. Monthly, we know that monthly, there's 12 months in a year. If we get paid once a month, we get 12 paychecks in a year. Semi-monthly simply means we get paid twice a month. Now you might be saying, semi-monthly, bi-weekly, it's the same thing. It's not. If you get paid semi-monthly, you actually get paid twice the number of monthly paychecks, which means we get paid 24 times. At this point, once we have the center column of this table finished, it's all a piece of cake. It's all downhill from here. Simply take the amount that we have up here. So for weekly, we take 32,345. We divide it by 52. And this gives us our monthly or weekly paycheck if we get paid a certain amount during a year, which works out to $622.02. For the last three boxes we have to figure out, we simply divide. We take the 32,345 divided by 26. We get $1,244.04. For semi-monthly, we take 32,345. We divide it by 24. We get $1,347.71. And for monthly, we simply take the $32,345 once again, divide it by 12, and we get $2,600.95.42. Our next problem reads, Joe chose to resign at the local hardware shop, and he has decided to work for PP&L at $12 per hour. His regular working hours are from 5 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and is on call every other Sunday from 5 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. If during this week he actually is called in on Sunday, which counts as double time, how much was weekly earnings total? We need to find his weekly earnings. We know that he's getting paid by the hour based off of the fact that it says $12 per hour. So we know we're going to be working with a different type of problem here. We're going to be working with an hourly problem. To do this, we have to slowly start breaking things down. We start by looking at the number of straight hours. Straight hours usually include the first 40 hours that a person works. That is then multiplied by the wage, or how much they get paid by the hour. We add to that the number of overtime hours. Overtime hours are anything after 40 hours. So if you work 44 hours, you have 4 hours of overtime. That is multiplied by 1.5 times the wage. It is usually called time and a half. That's usually a slang term that means the same thing as overtime. After that, we have to go in and add anything that might be double time. Double time usually accounts for holidays, but some employers sometimes count double time for Sundays, which PP&L in this problem apparently does. So we add in the number of double time hours which is multiplied by 2 times the wage. All of this, once we plug everything we know in, we can go back through and say, hey, this is the answer. This we can actually calculate out and find out what his weekly earnings will total. So the first thing we have to do, though, it doesn't really tell us how many hours he worked total. We have to go through and figure that out on our own. It says that he's working 5 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Well, Monday through Saturday, that's 6 days. We need to figure out how many hours it is, though, from 5 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you go through and count the hours, it actually ends up being 11 hours. So we take 6 days, multiply it by 11 hours, gives us a total of 66 hours. Through this, we said that our straight time hours was the first 40 hours that they worked. So we took 66 hours, we'd have 40 hours of straight time, and we'd have an extra 26 hours of overtime. Now we need to go through and find out if he had any double time. Well, the problem's saying that we're assuming that he gets called in on Sunday, and Sunday counts as double time. So he works 5 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. for double time. So we have to go through and figure out how many hours that is. Well, 5 a.m. to 11 o'clock a.m. is 6 hours. An extra 30 minutes, that's 6.5 hours. So we have 6.5 hours of double time. So now we know all this information, we can simply go through and start filling the information in. So, we erase what we already have here, give us a little bit more room. We can go through and start plugging the information in. The number of straight hours we have is 40, so we have 40 straight hours. We multiply this by our wage of $12 an hour, which we add to our number of overtime hours, which we found was 26. Which we multiply by 1.5 times our wage, once again of $12 an hour, which we add to our number of double time hours, which is 6.5, which we multiply by 2 times $12 an hour. So we fill all this in, we can simply go from here and start simplifying everything down. So we'll erase some more things to have some more space, and then we'll start simplifying the formula we have. We have 40 times 12. Well, we go through, we can use our calculator, we find that 40 times 12 is $480. Now we have 26 times the quantity of 1.5 times 12. Just multiply all this together. 26 times 1.5 times 12 gives us an answer of 468. And we also have this one last part of 6.5 times 2 times 12. We multiply all this together, we get 156. So we have 480 plus 468 plus 156. We add all this together, we get $1,004. This is going to be how much he would actually bring in for the week if he gets $12 an hour. He works 5 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Saturday and is called in on Sunday and works from 5 to 11:30 a.m. Our last problem today says John just received his check for the week, which totaled $819.25. He wants to know if he was getting paid the old hourly wage of $12 an hour or if his raise was applied. His total hours worked were 40 hours of straight time, 3 hours of time and a half, and 6 hours double time. Our question we have to answer, how much of a dollar per hour raise did John get, if any? Now you might be going and saying, this isn't too bad. We can simply go through. We know the number of hours that he worked for straight, time and a half, and double time. We know his old wage. We can easily find out what he got if he had a raise. Well, we have to go through and do some algebra here. We could go through and use all the information we have up here, plug it into our formula that we just used, and that'll tell us if he got the raise or not. But it'll tell us just that. It won't tell us how much of a raise he got, which means we still have to go back through and do some algebra most likely anyway. So we can just kill two birds with one stone and just go through and do the algebra. We had our last formula from the last problem, which is the number of straight hours multiplied by the wage, plus the number of overtime hours multiplied by 1.5 times the wage, plus the number of double time hours, multiplied by 2 times the wage. All of this equals the amount that he got paid. So we can go through and simply plug all the information we know into this and do some algebra to simplify it out. We know that he had a total of 40 straight time hours. So we have 40 times the wage. Well, we don't know the wage. That's what we're trying to find. So we're just going to mark it in as W. We know this number of overtime hours, which was 3. So we have 3 times 1.5 times W, plus the number of double time hours, which was 6, times 2 times W, equals the total that he got paid, which we found up here was $819.25. So we have this. We have an algebra problem. We need to go through and find W. So we simply go through and first do our distribution, any multiplication, and combining of like terms we can do. So let's do the distribution first. We have 40 times W, which is simply 40W, plus 3 times 1.5W, which just so happens to be 4.5W, plus 6 times 2W, which is 12W, equals 819.25. We go through from here, we simply combine like terms. We have 40W plus 4.5W plus 12W. Combine all these together, we happen to have 56.5W equals $819.25. Our last step here to find out what W is, we divide each side by 56.5. It cancels out over here, so we just have W left. We have a final answer once we do the division of $14.50 an hour, because our answer for this problem is going to be our wage, which happens to be a dollar amount per hour. Our question asks us, though, how much of a dollar per hour raise did John get? He was making $12 an hour. He got his raise of $14.50, which now means that he is making $2.50 more per hour, which he has a $2.50 an hour raise. Thank you for tuning in today. Remember to check back soon for more videos by me, the Math Guy.